I'm Darren with Akshon Esports, and this is Akshon Recap, the show where we cover various ongoing stories within the Overwatch esports community. After a less than ideal experience for the fans, team owners, and players alike in Season 1, the Seoul Dynasty have made a series of changes to their roster over the course of the off-season, from the addition of Fissure, and more recently the signing of 3 new players and a coach. First up is Jexa, a support player who previously played for Element Mystic, and who could very well be the missing piece of the puzzle that the Dynasty always needed back in Season 1. Leading up to the playoffs of the first season, many Korean Contenders fans and casters alike had hyped up Element Mystic as one of the best competing teams, largely due to their dominant performance in the group stage where they had a near flawless run with only 2 losses, ending groups at the highest seed team with an 18-2 record. Despite having such a strong start to the year, Jexa's team finished in a disappointing 5th to 8th placement after losing early on in playoffs to O2 Ardiant. By Season 2, the other competition Contenders Korea had improved drastically, with Runaway and Kongdu topping the rankings in groups, but Element Mystic followed in a respectable 3rd. They went on to end Season 2 in 3rd to 4th in the quarterfinals after losing 3-1 to Runaway. As for the player himself, Jexa is a very interesting addition to the Dynasty. While not known purely for his mechanical ability, with support heroes like Ryu Jae-hong, Jexa has gained a reputation for being a great in-game shot caller, which is something Seoul Dynasty have struggled with throughout Season 1 of Overwatch League. Near the end of the first season, we had a chance to interview Kuki, who revealed some of the failures he saw within the Dynasty, with communication being a major struggle. According to the player, even with attempts to set up some form of shot calling, things just never came together, and the team was negatively affected even more by the losses and pressure to perform given all the expectations from the community.
We had all the other people said that we had good players, but we were not playing as a team. So I think that was the biggest point we should have improved during the season. But it was not that easy because our shot callings were weak and our team gaming was a weak point for us. But we tried to improve that kind of stuff. And
when it comes down to shot calling, who do you think, where do you think the break in communication was happening, and what ultimately needed to be done to fix it?
We had some shot callings, but we weren't able to do what we had to do. But I don't know what the main problem is, because it might be just because of the pressure or somebody couldn't hear it. But we don't know why, but I think the pressure for us was the main reason.
Jexa can provide direction for his team to execute their plays or recollect if faced with unexpected threats. Depending on what the coaching staff have in mind, we may actually see Toby being swapped in favor of Jexa, seeing as how Toby underperformed to an extent in the later stages of Season 1 as the Dynasty struggled to work around the Brigitte-centric maps of Stage 4. So we may see plenty of Jexa for Season 2 since he has an overlapping hero pool with Toby, while being able to help Ryu Jae-hong and Fissure balance out the team's shot calling responsibilities. All in all, Jexa is a good pick for the Dynasty, who often appeared to be in disarray if they could not rely on FLETA or Wiki to make the necessary picks on the enemy. As for their other additions, Marvel, a main tank, and Michelle, an off-tank, are players who are already familiar with one another, as the duo previously competed together in Contenders China as part of the Korean heavy roster of Lucky Future Zenith. While there was criticism from the Chinese community for the team being an all-Korean roster, the team's results speak for themselves, as this was the team that took the region by storm, finishing both Season 1 and 2 in 1st place. Marvel first stepped into the scene as a rookie on Meta Bellum, but truly began coming into his own once he made the move into Contenders China, where he shined as both a main tank and a great Winston player during the height of the dive meta. He was already a well-known Winston player in Korea, but during his time on Lucky Future Zenith, Marvel expanded his pool of comfort pick heroes to include Orisa and Reinhardt. This is also why he is an excellent addition to the Dynasty. After After Miro failed to live up to expectations beyond a handful of matches this past season, he left to pursue streaming, and Kuki was traded to LA Valiant, so there was a big vacancy to fill as it left Seoul with no secondary main tank besides Fissure. Depending on the meta, we could see both Marvel and Fissure on stage together, but we'll just have to wait and see if he is ready to be fielded from the get-go of Season 2 or start off mainly as a sub for Fissure. With mentoring from the veterans and coaching staff on the Dynasty, Marvel has the potential to be great, but I wouldn't expect him to start instead of Fissure anytime soon. As for Michelle, he is a solid player in his own right, with a reputation in the East as a great diva main, but the Dynasty already have a strong diva player in ZUNBA.
Yeah, he's up top, he's waiting to jump down at the last second to go up his front gate for
Yeah, he's still hanging around here. He's got self-destruct right up into the open. The shield is down, it gets broken as well, and there you go, it couldn't have been better! Quad kill, or might as well be. Nevix will die after he gets—
With ZUNBA having consistently great performances all season on Diva, it could take a few weeks or even a whole stage before the team thinks Michelle is ready to swap with ZUNBA, who really cemented himself last season as one of the best divas in the league. Overall, while talented, both Marvel and Michelle were never outstanding players while on their old teams, but they will be great backups for the Dynasty starting lineup and hopefully an upgrade from Kuki and Zephyr. Lastly is the team's new coach, Why Not? Those of you who watched Korean Overwatch back in the day might recall his name from his time playing on MVP Infinity since Apex Challengers Season 1. As a tank player for MVP, Why Not was a staple member of the team, having been with them through thick and thin. From earning a spot in Apex Season 2 after going through the Super Week tournament, all the way up until the very end of Apex at Season 4 before we swapped over to the Contenders model. While never having been a team that was able to ever break into the top 4, MVP, much like their counterparts in League of Legends, were always good enough to stay in the league and avoid being relegated. After his tenure in MVP, Why Not has since stepped out of the spotlight to coach O2 Ardiant. Contenders Season 1 saw his team make a strong run to the finals, but finished in second place, falling to X6. Season 2 was a bit more of a struggle as the team ended up being knocked out early in the playoffs by Meta Bellum. The ability of a coach is generally difficult to gauge as we rarely have a look behind the scenes, but given the questionable decisions from the Dynasty last season that earned them much criticism, such as the decision to have Ryu Jae-hong play Winston, a new coach could bring the stability and guidance that the players had been lacking, especially from a former player who had once competed against them in Apex. Some might initially make fun of the bowl cuts and glasses of these players, but as we've discussed, their skill is the real deal, and they certainly have the potential to take the Seoul Dynasty to new heights and help the organization live up to its name in establishing a golden dynasty in the Overwatch League. That's all for me, but what do you guys make of these new additions? Do you think with new tank players and a new coach, the Dynasty can finally live up to the full potential of the Lunatic High legacy? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and share as it really helps out the channel quite a lot. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with all of our content, and hit that bell to stay notified. This has been Darren from Akshon Esports, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.